if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just want to make sure this video screen pops up here. Like I think it's going
for no reason.
You can keep looking at it if you want.
I mean, I'm just learning about how Jamie Lynn Spears' daughter was.
Wait, Jamie Lynn Spears has a daughter? I thought Jamie Lynn Spears was the daughter.
Jamie Lynn Spears' daughter was trapped underwater.
That sounds like the beginning of a terrible nursery rhyme. Yeah, dude, I think that we're essentially live on Facebook at this point. And so as soon as I click record here, we can just go. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I can see your pretty fucking face over here. Wait, why is there no? There we are. Look, see, there's Adam, there's me. Okay, good. Yeah, fuck it, let's do this.
We're going live.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, okay, that still works. That still works. Actually, you know what? Let's go right. Let's go. Let's go a little bit up. Yeah, no, I want to get you like. I want to. There you go. I don't want to take you from the bottom. That sounds weird, right?
That's my sexy move.
Oh no! I meant. Never mind.
Take me from the bottom.
Yes. All right, let's do this. Ready?
It's that kind of podcast, huh?
I mean, if you want it to be, dude. I'm an open-minded kind of guy. All right, here we go. All right, welcome to the None Taken podcast. I am sitting down today from the comfort of my beautiful home with Adam DeVine. It's your home?
Wait a second, you're in my house.
Dude, as part of the contract that I sent over to you for this, I don't know if you read it, but it includes the home.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, well, all right. You'll get to keep my gigantic American flag. I'm basically
that is patriotic as fuck. I love it.
So patriotic. I'm basically like a 17-year-old boy who then got a lot of money and is like, I'm taking the American flag with me.
But that is essentially your story anyway.
Yeah, that's my whole life. It's a funny story about this. We're only talking flags. I thought that I didn't do my research. I'm a little bit of a stoner, and I had someone helping me buy furniture because it takes a lot. When you buy a house, they don't tell you how much time it takes to go furniture shopping and all that shit. So I didn't want to do any of that. So I paid this person to do it for me, and I was like, I want a giant American flag that has the same number of stars as when Nebraska joined the Union because I'm from Nebraska. She's like, on it, and then she gets me this flag, 38 stars. Turns out that's not. We're number 39.
Well, it's right number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I'm justifying it now. I'm like, it's right before we joined the Union. We were still a territory, baby. We were wild child. So now I have this giant flag.
It is a beautiful giant flag, though.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you think it's actually that old, or did somebody just make it?
No, it's that old, yeah.
That's fucking impressive.
Yeah.
Look at that, man. You have a real-life, historical, patriotic antique. So I don't have any advertisers for this episode. So
antique flags.
We could do that, but I was also thinking maybe if there's something that you want to advertise. I'm not talking about a next show that's coming up or anything like that. I'm talking about if there's just something. Sometimes I advertise the psycho button on Instagram. The following button, where if you're a complete deranged psycho, you go see what other people are liking.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I advertise
that. My girlfriend does that.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a psycho move. She's just like, I wanted to know what my friends like. And I'm like, you're spying.
No, you want to know what I like. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I've seen this before.
Yeah. I didn't even know that existed until we went through a weird period where we, wasn't weird. I was just trying to be single for as long as possible. I knew I was going to end up dating her, and she would call me out. She's like, so who's this girl? And I'm like, how do you even know about her? I had no idea.
It was a fucking mystery.
Bad. Yeah.
Oh, dude, so as soon as I hear shit like that, it's like, oh, it's the psycho button.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, why do you like this girl? Well, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? There's a hot chick right in front of my face, right on my phone.
Yeah, you just
I don't have a choice. Yeah. How much worse would it be if I was thinking, I'm not going to click like on this because somebody eventually might complain?
Yes.
That is a psychotic thing to think.
That's way, way worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to advertise anything? Any products around here? it can even be just an amorphous conception of reality. You can think about it. We'll table it.
Yeah. Let's table it, and then I'm going to come back. I might just advertise an amorphous concept of reality.
But that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the concept of an amorphous concept of reality?
Concept of it.
That's fucking deep.
Yeah,
man. You should figure out how to sell that, and you will clean up.
First of all, I'm going to look up exactly what an amorphous is, and then I'm going to promote the fuck out of it.
Okay, so dude, the big news is that Workaholics is in the final season.
I know, it's so fucking weird, right?
And please, stop me if you're like, I've been interviewed about this same question in the same way so many times, because I don't want to do that conversation.
It's fine. I can curse now.
Yeah, you can curse. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Free. I'm so bad. I love improv and I love doing it, but I had the blessing of #blessed of having my show, and so I could say whatever I want. I could do whatever I want. No one can tell me what I can and can't do, and I can cuss and just bleep it out, and it's totally fine. And then now, I'm giving interviews and that kind of stuff, and I can't curse and I can't talk the way I normally talk, and it just it makes me feel like those guys that can fully improv and are that can be super creative without cussing. I'm like, oh, that is. You're on another level than I am. I'm hindered by my lack of vocabulary, basically.
Dude, I think I have an on-off button when it comes to cursing, because it's not even my parents really were don't ever say that, but it was just kind of understood in my house that that's not how we talk. And so growing up, I just never would swear at my parents or swear around my parents. I don't think my parents heard me say shit till I was 25. You know, and obviously that's not how I am in the rest of the world, which maybe says something psychological about my relationship with my parents and how dishonest I feel like I have to be about it all the time. But no, I'm hoping that that's a joke that I don't later have to talk about in therapy. But
no, yeah. So I'm perfectly cool with talking about Workaholics being done, man. It's it feels really weird because it's like we're all growing up, you know. Because when we got the show, I was remember the coffee bean?
Yes, dude. I mean, I think I met you probably right in the year before that started, right?
Yeah, maybe 6 months before. I remember I was at the coffee bean when I got the official call, sitting right next to our mutual friend Chris D'Elia, who you're currently wearing his hat.
Yes, you got to represent the. Oh no, wait, I'm not even on the camera. There it is. You got to represent the LA comic friends. And by the way, can we see your lovely hat? Because I want that tight buckle.
I'm going to see if I have two of them. I don't know if I do. It's representing the tight buckle.
Yes.
Because I'm an 8-year-old boy who wrote his own television show.
And loves the word butthole.
And loves buttholes in general.
Oh, well, cool.
Not even the word.
Not even the word. Yeah. And not even the amorphous concept of a butthole. Just the real flesh and blood butthole.
Yeah, so we're done now. It's bizarre. Well, I'm glad we're ending it now because it's time, you know. I feel like we could have. Comedy Central wanted to go longer, and they wanted to, to keep it going, but also they didn't really want to pay for it to keep going that much. So, so shots fired, Comedy Central. No, so it's kind of it's a ton of work for us, and we are getting that age where it's going to start being weird. Durs is 35 or 36, we're 33 now. It's starting, if we go 2-3 more years, Durs is, almost 40 years old, and we're still those guys that are working at the telemarketing spot, chugging beers on the roof, which is funny, but it loses some of. We started watching, nostalgically, we went back this past season and would be all of us individually would come in and be like, I actually watched a few episodes from season 1 last night. I love you guys. And it kind of made us realize the reason the show connected so well with an audience was we looked like babies when we got the show. Like we were all like 25, 26, and we had baby faces, so we looked like we were 21, 22, and we looked like these little kids working in the office with all these adults. And then this past season, we looked like, and we kind of played on this past season, which the first episode, we had like younger kids come in, and then we feel like we're old, and like, are we like not the young kids in the office anymore? Like that kind of vibe. It really is like, oh, now on this past season, you realize like, oh, now we look like guys that just should work in an office. Like we don't look like fish out of water, like young kids. Like, what are they doing there? Oh my God, they look so funny in those ties.
Well, is part of it also just a real life concern where eventually you want to break out of the mold of that being your identity as far as like the public knows you? I mean, you do something like that for too long, and then it's hard for people to let you be someone else in their life. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, I mean, you look at like the Seinfeld cast, right? And I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has an amazing, amazing show now. But besides that, none of them have had a great hit in the, 15, 16, 17 years that it's been off the air. So, I mean, and I think part of that, aside from racist rants at the Improv, is, you know, like Kramer's Kramer.
Yeah.
You know? Did you guys ever have that feeling, or is that just out of left field?
Like a little bit, but yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit. But the thing is like, I like that world that and I like making R-rated comedies, and I like that. So I
wasn't talking about like you're going to go do an Oscar drama next, but I mean, just the identity of you all as those characters.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, a little bit. That wasn't the main fear, but it is nice to kind of do something different. And once you're so used to playing the characters, it kind of loses its fun for you, even though we still had a great time working together. But now that we're done with it, it's actually exciting because we can create new characters and work on different projects with each other.
And you guys still are working together.
Yeah, we're doing a movie together that we're going to start shooting in a little over a month, 2 months.
Wow.
In Vancouver, called Game Over Man, that we wrote together, and Seth Rogen and Scott Rudin are helping us produce it. Is
this Bill Paxton inspired?
No, actually.
Game Over Man.
Game Over Man. I know. But it's us. It's basically the three of us. We're hotel like housekeepers, and we were super ambitious when we were younger. We thought we were going to be these video game creators, and then like my character is kind of like, I'm like the leader of the pack, even though I'm the dumbest one, and I'm the one that they listen to because I'm like the alpha male of our group. And then we are working at the hotel, and it gets taken over by terrorists, and basically it turns into like a Die Hard situation, but we're three dumb John McClanes, and we have to like, using our video game knowledge, like fight our way out.
And so, this is all three of you that wrote this together, or four of you? I guess it's four of you, right?
We worked on the story together, and then Durs took it and wrote it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
So
he's really the brains behind the operation, even though no one really is aware.
Yeah. Honestly, his brains work so much better.
Dude, so let's talk about your life as soon as Workaholics came on. You got your start, you got a little money, and it was going well. And then the first thing you guys did was rented a fucking crazy ass house.
Oh yeah, I forgot that you came over to that house.
Yeah.
One of our parties. Blake and I. Well, we lived there the whole first season we shot it, and so we lived, in the house that we shot the show in.
Oh wow!
So we all lived.
So wait, where was that house?
It was in Van Nuys.
Okay,
it still is.
All right.
In Van Nuys, and the only person that didn't live there was Durs, because he had a girl that loved him, and they lived together. And the three of us lived in this...
You had no one that loved you.
No one loved us. And so we lived in the Workaholics house. in season 1, we got the show, and we were convinced, like, hey, let's just shoot it at our house, because if anything, we'll just get rent paid for like a year.
That's amazing.
And then we'll be able to bank some money and hopefully be able to move someplace better, if they cancel the show. And so, luckily it didn't work out that way, and we got a season 2, and we're like, oh, we're in the money, baby.
No, dude, I love this because it worked out so well for you guys, but there's so many people that I know in this city where if they got that little chunk of money and they fucking spent it on, it'd just be like, oh, this ain't gonna end well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had that.
And now here you are sitting inside my house.
Yeah, damn it! I can't believe I have to gift it to you.
I was just getting settled in here.
We rented this big dumb house. It was a super fun party house. It was like,
I agree.
It was it had like a spiral staircase coming up and like a glass mirrored like foyer, and then there was like weird leather accent walls and like a fire pit where you like climb down with like white shag carpet. It was like a really fun place to be like a single guy that had his own TV show.
Yeah.
And so it was super fun.
And it was kind of detached enough that you guys could do weird things there and no one would really care.
Yeah, we had like a yard and a pool, and like it was really fun. We had an 8-foot tall metal Tyrannosaurus Rex on the roof, like where you could look out the window and see the T-Rex like over the city, which was very bizarre. You know what I would have loved is if that T-Rex got lit up to the point of looking like Godzilla from that lit up cross on the hill above Going Pass.
Oh, you know, right over there? Yeah. Like, I feel like it was close enough that if viewed from the right angle, it might make like Godzilla crawling up like in front of that massive cross up there.
Yeah, we really blew it, didn't we?
Well, you know, man, this is why you need to call me like right when you move in, just so I can arrange these sorts of things for you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at interior design, but exterior design I am also not good at. Yeah. But this thing I feel like I would have gotten.
Sure. All right. Yeah, next time I move into a house, I'm giving you a call.
Just on dinosaur placement, that's all.
Yeah, this house I actually did some cool shit with. We built a batting cage on the roof. It is fully destroyed now, but like with this sick view, like it looked like you were crushing balls, and you're like, oh, that one hit Wilshire, you know it did.
That is amazing, dude. That's awesome. Like that's like kind of. What do you think on the cool scale that is compared to like the Entourage, like the golf ball swinging? I think you guys might beat it.
I think, we definitely beat it.
There's something a little bit more badass, maybe, about the criminal element of smashing golf balls into other people's property.
Yeah.
But that's only if you're like a jerk.
See, I didn't.
But as a nice guy,
I'm like, well, you know, those are your neighbors. They work hard for their houses too.
Yes.
You know.
So don't hit them with golf balls.
Don't hit them with golf balls.
Yeah. See, I don't know why fucking Entourage is just like promoting entitlement.
Yeah.
You know.
Pricks.
What a bunch of millennial dickheads. Yeah. Dude, I was going to ask you this. So you kind of got into like this whole thing. You guys collectively started by producing content for the internet, right? Is that totally wrong?
Yeah, we were like, no, that's right on. At that time, it was kind of just a handful of sketch groups. There weren't many at all. And it was like, we were kind of the West Coast equivalent of like Garrett Comedy with like Donald Glover and those guys, and Dominique Dierkes, who actually ended up writing for us on Workaholics, and they had a 3-person sketch group in New York, and we had our 3-person sketch group out here, and there wasn't a whole. There were maybe 5 or 6 sketch groups on the internet at that time, because it was like right when YouTube first came out, and it just was like, oh shit, we can actually do this and people can see it immediately. Because before that, it was like you had to, you know, upload it to like a QuickTime file, and then you'd have to send it out to people, and then you don't know if they watched it or didn't. You know, it sucked. And so we kind of started doing that. We actually first found out about YouTube by watching a friend of ours was like, hey, I went to college Berkeley with these guys that are going to be on SNL. And that ended up being Andy Samberg in the Lonely Island. Yeah. And he was like, here, we'll go to this site they upload all their stuff to. And it was YouTube. And not only were we were like, oh, we'll be the judge if they're funny or not.
Dude, but that, yeah, of course.
And then we're like, oh, not only were we blown away by how funny their shit was, but also like YouTube. Like, whoa, we just clicked on it and it started playing like right away. Give or take 20 or 30 seconds because our internet was
buffering.
Yeah. But actually, you were able to like see. It didn't take 20 minutes to download. The 3-minute video. So as soon as we found that, we made like something like 80 videos in like 2 years, and that was right around the time that I was starting to do a lot of.
So tell me, before you finish that part, what was the process with you guys making these videos? I mean, is this just handheld cell phone cams, or are you guys writing actual sketches and blocking shit out? And like, how complex were your productions here? I mean, I guess over the course of 2 years, you get to experiment a lot.
Yeah, we wrote sketches, and it was before cell phone. Like, we probably, like, people shit on the
Vine and
the Vine kids and the Snapchat kids and the kids that are, but like, we probably would have done that too. If we were that age if we were like 20, 21 when we were starting to make our internet videos, like 21, 22. And if I was that age now, I would, this conversation would be on a phone.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but we didn't have, the technology wasn't good enough, so I had a few $1,000s saved, and we bought a like old Canon, which was great at the time. And we actually went to the house. We found it on Craigslist, this camera, and it was like an apartment, and the guy had all this cool artwork up, and we're like, oh, cool. And he's like, yeah, I'm a director of cinematography, and this is my camera. And he shot David LaChapelle's Crunk documentary on that camera.
That's incredible,
yeah,
man.
So then we bought that camera from him and then made all of our internet videos with that camera. And Kyle also worked at LA Film School. He went to LA Film School, and then immediately following LA Film School, they hired him to teach editing.
Oh, wow.
Which is so funny. He graduated with a degree in editing, and then they were like, hey, do you want to teach?
They're like, it seems like you're just barely good enough to show someone else what to do.
Yeah, I don't know if that speaks to Kyle being really a great editor,
he's probably
which he is, but
prodigy.
But also, like, how hard up LA Film School was at that time. But it was great, because then he was like, he had he was a authority figure on campus, so he could just go down to the equipment locker and be like, hey, we need all this for the weekend. So we would just raid that place and use all their stuff and shoot everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so that's like really cool, because that's where I was gonna get, like, the kind of the advancement in that technology, or maybe not advancement, but the change in that technology, the accessibility of it now, where everyone is making these videos all the time, which is awesome in a way for people like you who like are really into creating content and really working hard at doing it. And then the flip side of it is, of course, what they call the democratization of the arts. And now everybody wants to be the next success story like you guys, so they're producing tons and tons and tons of shit, and then good shit gets drowned in it. And I guess the final part of that for me is that it seems so easy for people in the public sphere who consume some of this content, and they see it on a platform like YouTube or Instagram or Vine or something like that, and it seems like it kind of subtracts the amount of work that you understand to be necessary when you see that stuff. Because if you see your show on Comedy Central, you know for a fact these guys had agents, they got jobs, they write scripts in a writing room, they have directors, they have cameramen, they have sets, those sets move. Like, there's so many moving parts that that's not something that you can just produce at home.
Yeah.
So there's almost like a better understanding of how hard everybody's working to produce that. Whereas you draw it back to a lot of, not all obviously, because some YouTube content's fucking incredible. And interestingly, a lot of the content is going more and more towards those formats to begin with. But it's interesting to me how people think that they can get to where you are, like on a quick path, just because it's like, oh, well, now I want to make videos. Now I made a video. Give me money. It's a little tougher than that.
It's a weird thing because I think it's kind of starting to come back around. I feel like we were just drowning in all the shit, especially with Vine and all that. And I've worked with some of those people, and they're talented, but they don't understand, because production value meant nothing to them for like the 5 or 6 years
and it probably meant nothing to their consumers either.
Yeah, and they don't care. But now I think people have seen all that bullshit and then realize, like, I want the people that are creating the content to care a little bit about how it looks, and if there's a microphone dipping in the shot, and if, is the sound quality any good, or, it is continuity wise, like someone standing in the background and suddenly they disappear. It's like, you do have to care a little bit about that stuff at some point, if you want anyone over the age of like 14 to care about
exactly. And I think the other problem, as far as the content producer side goes in that realm, is that there's an end goal to doing things the way you guys did it. You were like, I want this to be my career. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, there's no payoff until the actual payoff. In like the quick consumption world, the payoff is just likes immediately. Yeah. And like, oh my God, my video got 4,000 likes or whatever it is. And that's the payoff. But that's the end of the payoff. Yeah. And then you just want to get that payoff again rather than taking it to the next level. I mean, that's what I see. That's my perspective. Call it cynical, maybe I is. But
some of the guys, like I worked with Andrew Batchelor, King Batch, on some stuff, and he's actually like really talented, and even though he makes all those, little videos, and it takes, no time, and they don't care about production value, but he's the one that goes home, he edits all of them, he does all that stuff. But on the flip side of that, like, I did this movie with him that's coming out for Netflix, that I was the lead of it, and it was like a romantic comedy. It's a cool idea. There's like kind of like Groundhog's Day-esque, where you keep reliving the same day over and over again, of like the guy goes back in time to get the girl that he loves, and then everything he does throughout that first date that they had, then it flash forwards to present time, and you see like everything that he tries to play the cool guy, and then he wakes up and he's actually with her, but he's like a total douche now, and he's wearing
I like that, dude. That's a fucking great idea, and that's so true too.
Yeah, and it shows like how you are with certain people, how it not only affects you, but affects everyone in your circle.
Wow. And I love that idea, man.
So it was really cool, and it was really fun to work on. He plays my best friend in it, and he did a great job. He's a great actor, and it's like, oh yeah, it's the exact same thing as they're just going about it in different ways. It's the same thing as like when we were coming up, like, and why I did my house party show. Like, you just want to give people the opportunity to shine, and that's the way that these kids right now are going. Like, okay, what's the quickest path for people to see me shining? Because right now, before YouTube came out, the only way to get your stuff seen was to make short films, and it took a lot of money to make short films. It took you had to have like $25,000 to like go out and
a lot of time and a lot of really talented people.
Yeah, and you have to surround yourself with talented
even
people.
The editing part is like, I hate editing. Even the sound, it's like, oh God, this is the most tedious bullshit I could imagine.
Exactly.
Like sitting in a room watching the same thing over and over and over again. Oh, did I get it right down to this 100th of a second?
Yeah. And so to do that, like and then like no one would do that now, because it goes, you're like, oh, I could show how talented I am and like what a good comedy brain that I have right now, doing a 1.5 minute long YouTube video with little production value, and people would actually get to see it, and that's what people want to view now, as opposed to make it 25-minute short or 15-minute short and spending $25,000-$50,000 that you don't have, like, it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
To do it that way now.
Oh, I'm 100% with you on that. Again, I was just going to say something that I thought was interesting, and maybe it wasn't interesting. Maybe it was so uninteresting that I already forgot it myself. See, now I feel like, oh my God, I'm under pressure. Oh my God, oh my God.
But it's totally cyclical, and like everything kind of comes back around. But it is the new generation. This is how they're getting shown. But I do think that production value will come back only because it's good.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's also just a means of out-competing other people. Yeah.
It's like,
and it's become so much easier.
It used to be, like when in the past 5 years when the whole Vine thing sort of popped off, and it was like whoever could be the quickest in the shortest amount of time. Mm-hmm. Now Vine's dead. Now Instagram, you can make minute-long videos. Now people are starting to go like, oh, I have more than 6 seconds. You can't really have that much production value in 6 seconds.
Right.
And so everybody's made these very low production value, very quick, back and forth, real snappy content for years now. And now it's going to take somebody to go, oh, actually, I'm going to do it, but have super high production value. And then everyone would be like, oh, that's the guy that's popping off. And then everyone will bandwagon on that, and the whole tide will change.
Yeah, I think that's right. The interesting thing about the Vine medium in particular for me, and I mean, it's kind of similar to Twitter in this way. Like, somebody came up to me the other day, and they were like, "Oh man, you the things that you write like are just so." By the way, I'm just congratulating myself right now. But they're so concise and blah blah blah, and it's like that's not a magical skill I have. Mm-hmm. Like, that was me trying to figure out how to get as much of the idea, the message that I want to communicate into 140 characters as possible, which means you got to change words, like shrink things, and I hate using like the U instead of YOU. So I don't like taking any of those shortcuts. So it's like I have to figure out another way to say this to get my message across in this amount of time, which is the same kind of thing that Vine forces you to do if you're producing that kind of content. You're like, I got 6 seconds. I have almost no time, and I have to make an impact right now. Well, so I think that part of it's super interesting.
I'm excited to see the next wave of great filmmakers who kind of came up during this generation, because brevity is such a thing where it's like you really have to tell your story in the most compact way possible. Because, like, the older generation, those guys are off their fucking rockers. Like, Scorsese can't make a movie under 3 hours. Like, I just saw Silence. It's like 25 hours long.
I love that movie, but yeah.
I mean, it was so long.
It was really long.
I'm like...
It was just so beautiful. Goddamn.
It was,
like, looking at it?
Yeah, it was stunning. Yeah. It was stunning. But, like, if it was just 30 minutes shorter, I would have really liked it.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you there.
So I think this next generation will at least have a sense of like, okay, let's pick up the pace here.
So we're kind of like in the middle of one of my favorite subjects right now, which is kind of like the advancement of technology over the last 20 to 25 years has been so rapid that we get so scared of it so quickly. Like, not like we're like cavemen running around seeing fire for the first time, but it's kind of close. You're like, oh my God, what is this going to do to us? And by the way, I'm not immune to that freak out. I'm like, I can't stand that our human interactions have devolved to this thing. But I think that like every time we make something obsolete that characterizes our way of interaction, we always adjust to it and then find similar levels of happiness. And I'm not sure that's going to happen this time, but I hope it will. But like, think about it like in your grandmother's day, right? People used to just visit one another. Mm-hmm. Like, they would just drop by. That was just something that happened. A neighbor would just drop by another neighbor's house, and that neighbor would be like, oh, hey, let me put on some tea and grab my extra cakes out of the refrigerator for you. And then that went away with the telephone. And people got the telephone, and they were like, well, nobody ever drops by anymore. Now we just talk on the phone. And then, now it's texting. It's like, well, I mean, if you're going to ask a girl on a proper date, you need to call her. And it's like, well, okay, I understand what you're saying, but like, also, this is just how we communicate now, and everybody kind of understands
now it. Someone like knocks on your door, you're like, I'm being robbed.
Oh my God, dude, if somebody knocks on my door, I hide in the furthest part of my house and muzzle my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, even when somebody calls me on the phone, I don't like when that happens.
Yeah, it has to be my parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be like...
Or somebody waiting outside your house.
Yes.
Like, if you're Domino's, I will answer your call. But here's the thing I was going to say, but that I forgot. I think Rob Weiss told me this. You know Rob? He was in that whole entourage crew of writers and creators, and he's done a million other things since, and he's just a fucking great guy. But he was like, you need 2 out of 3 things to make it. You need hard work, talent, and opportunity. Choose 2, and you'll have a career. Choose 1, you have no fucking chance. And because if you have talent without the hard work and you never get lucky, no one's going to see your talent. Yeah. But right now we're on, I think, like an opportunity-driven talent economy. You know what I mean? It's everybody's got the opportunity, so put out your content. But if you don't have the hard work or the talent, like then you're just flooding the sphere with all this shit. So that's what I was gonna say. We kind of moved on from that, but whatever.
I like it.
Oh, okay. Please comment in whatever way you'd like.
No, that absolutely, that absolutely makes sense. I think to me, the hard work is what separates. Like I got the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Tipping Point.
Okay.
Like I got that like at a perfect time in my life, and I read it, and it said in there that you need to basically outwork all of your peers, and whoever in your peer group gets the 10,000 hours will be successful. And I really took that to heart, and I was like, oh yeah, just outwork everyone. And I think it does work.
I'm 100% in agreement with you.
It's whoever is just living and breathing whatever you want to do, whether it's entertainment or you want to be the best doctor or whatever the fuck. I like that I just shit on being the doctor. I'm like, or whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter.
But those were separated by a semicolon.
Yes.
In my head.
Yeah. So you have to you just have to outwork everyone, and that's what people don't understand, especially about the entertainment business. They think it's like, oh, you just get, if you're talented, you just put your stuff out there, someone will find you. It's like,
no, that's absolutely not true.
You have to be working hard. You have to be meeting all the right people. You have to be willing to put yourself out there every night and trying to do stand-up or starting your podcast, or, you're an artist, so you have to be drawing every day or painting or whatever you do. You have to be opening up a gallery. You have to be putting yourself out there as much as possible.
And for me, I mean, I've been fortunate enough out here to get to know so many talented people like you and Chris and like AP, like so many people who were, by the way, also talented when they were 17. But the difference between now and then, the talent actually does grow with the hard work. So if you're not putting the work in, you're not only decreasing your chances of making it, you're also just decreasing your own ability. Like your ability grows the harder you work.
It is like whenever I see, like the Super Bowl just happened, and now everyone's talking about like Tom Brady's work ethic and all, all this, and it's like, yeah, Tom Brady, not that I'm even a football guy really, but like it makes sense with what I'm doing. It's like he was a third round pick.
6th, I think.
Oh, really?
I think he was 6th.
I
could be totally wrong about that.
Could be a million. There's no way to check.
There's no way to ever find out.
There's no way to find out. But he wasn't in the first
round. Right.
And just through outworking everyone else.
Based on pure insecure anger.
Yeah.
Which is fine, by the way. The dude's a hero. Like,
sure.
If that's what drives you and it works, more power to you. That ain't going to necessarily fix your problem, but...
But he was able to become the best because of just how much he was able. Although, like, hearing like what he eats and how he lives his life, I'm like, the guy seems like a goddamn football psychopath. But beyond that, he is going to go down as the greatest.
But dude, you know art psychopaths and comedy psychopaths too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's talk about stand-up for a minute, because obviously you're going out on tour this week, right? Friday you start?
Yeah, no, Friday I'm flying out, but the first show's Saturday in Detroit.
Awesome. And then everybody who's in Los Angeles listening to this, March 4th at the Wiltern is the wrap up of the tour.
Yeah, this is the big kablamo.
And then we fucking party! You're doing a fantastically energetic dog.
Yeah.
Or I mean, not dog. Well, yeah, that too. But I was going to say job, even though you're sick. That makes me sad.
Yeah, thanks.
Adam is at his best even when he is not at his best.
I just puke in a bucket.
So let's talk about stand-up, though, because stand-up is exactly the perfect example of what we were just talking about. Like, stand-up is one of the interesting things where you're actually rehearsing and performing at the same time, and that there is simply no way to become really talented at it without working your ass off. Like, you have to be in front of the crowd all the time and getting that feedback, finding out what works, because you have, like, so many jobs and so many different things in life don't have that instant feedback system built in. And that thing is, there's no, like, better training process than, like, that classical conditioning you get right away.
Yeah, it is a pretty phenomenal thing. And, like, I really lucked out when I moved to LA. I got a job working the door and answering the phones at the Hollywood Improv.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and I had friends that did similar jobs at different comedy clubs around the country, back in the Midwest where I'm from, and the level of growth I was able to have was more than they were able to have, just because the level of talent. I was able to see the A-list comics come through. And being able to see, like, Chris Rock stop in and do guest sets, and, you know, see Louis C.K. and see all these guys who are just, like, at the top of their craft, come in and work out 5 minutes of material and then stop in right before their special and just go, I'm going to do an hour. And then they do their hour. Or like, Chris Rock comes in and is reading off a notepad, doing an open mic. Like, literally an open mic. And it was so cool to see all that and to see, like, what it takes to fail. Like, to see, like, Chris Rock go up there and just fucking crickets. Like, after the first 5 minutes of, like, holy shit, it's Chris Rock and nervous giggles, and then him, like, really trying stuff out, and then just it not landing, and him going like, yeah, well, you know, this is all new, you know, like,
yeah, and it's still totally possible to bomb even at the highest level.
Yeah, it was really cool and really refreshing to see, and it just took some of the stink off of the whole thing. It's like, oh, I can bomb. Chris Rock bombs. It's okay. Like, it's fine to go out there and, you know, when you go on, like, a big tour, you hope that you have your hour ready to go and you're not out there,
of course,
with your notepad. Right. But, like, but, you know, when you're testing material out, it's okay to get up there and swing and miss.
So, did this is actually something I don't know about you at all, so I'm genuinely just asking for me. Did this stuff all kind of come together for you at the same time? Like, were you starting stand-up at the same time you started producing content for the internet? Like, how many years were you, or maybe you started in stand-up? Like, where, like, just on the timeline, where did these things happen?
I don't even really know, like, when I can first start to say. I guess I'll say I started when I started at the Improv.
Okay,
and, like,
so you had never, like, gone up on a comedy stage before that, or you had? Okay.
And I had, like, a handful of times, but it would be like I'd go up once every, like, 6 months, 8 months.
Okay.
So it's like, and I've been doing that since I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
So, like, I had done stand-up, and I had, like, will find excuses to do it, like, hey, they want you to host, because I've been that kid that, like, ever since high school, people would just be like, here, you're hosting the pep rally. Here, you're going to do the announcements in the morning. So I'm always looking for bits to write and that kind of thing. And even when I was a kid, I called in every day at the radio station in 8th grade and became, like, a little radio celeb.
Really?
Different impressions and stuff, and would go home every day and write bits, like, during class, like, write different bits.
So wait, what impressions?
I would do, like, Chris Farley. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like 7th, 8th grade. And then Chris Farley died, and then when it became a big hit, it was I would do Chris Farley back from the dead.
Oh, God!
And I'd make jokes about how my arm fell off and stuff. And then, like, you know, just some dumb characters that I'd make up, like a hick, and then, like, this girl Becky, who's, you know, like, kind of Valley Girl-esque. really adolescent stuff, but I was, 13 years old. And so
That's so ballsy for a 13-year-old to do that.
Yeah. So I've just been like writing that kind of stuff forever. And then stand-up sort of was the natural progression of
from that, yeah.
Yeah, from doing all that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to be on SNL. Mm-hmm. That was like kind of my dream gig. And then I realized how expensive New York was, and my family doesn't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So LA seemed like a smarter bet. And I knew that a lot of great comics started at the Hollywood Improv. So I went there. I asked every day for like a little over 2 months. I'd go there every day and ask for a job. And they're like, we still don't have an opening. We will let you know.
Dude, that's fucking gangster.
Until finally they were like, actually, yeah, we do have an opening. Okay, you're hired.
Well, dude, see, it all works out.
Yeah. The shit out of them.
So in terms of the writing, because that is one of those things that for me, so in high school I was in a band and would write lyrics for songs in a band. In college, I was in a band sometimes and doing that. After college, for a couple of years, I was doing that. Out here, I was doing that. And then eventually that band, the band broke up. I stopped doing music. And I still found myself needing an outlet. Mm-hmm. And so, then it became writing poetry, and then it became writing political commentary and blogs and short stories and novels and screenplays. And so now I do all that stuff because I still, and probably this is a factor of it too, but like when you have these ideas coming in all the time, it's like, what am I going to do with this idea? Like, I like this idea. I like thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I want to make it into something where someone else can understand it and I can communicate it to them. So of course it makes sense for me to like hear you say that. Like there's never a time where you've had the flow of ideas just cease, is there? I mean, I'm not talking about writer's block. I'm just talking about like it's part of your existence to see things that you think are strange or funny or off, and you figure out a way to make fun of it. Right?
The only time
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I'd say the only time. I mean, that's absolutely correct. I think the only time that is when I stop searching for those ideas, where I'll say something and someone will go, "Oh, that's a funny stand-up bit," but I haven't been doing a lot of stand-up over the past few years because I'm doing so much acting stuff, and it's hard to go do a set at the Improv and test out new material and fire up that part of your brain when you just worked for 14 hours on site.
Of course, yeah.
So I think the only time that it's really slowed down for me has been the last few years as far as stand-up wise.
Right.
When I'm writing other stuff and I'm getting it out that way, but I'm not like where I'll like be in a conversation with my stand-up friends and like, oh, dude, you ever talk about that on stage? And I'm like, no, I didn't even, like, normally when I'm in stand-up mode, I didn't even think I should I'm always thinking about that stuff, and I'm always going like, oh yeah, that's a good, like, you see photos of me from the time I'm 22 till the time I'm like 24, I have a pen behind my ear like a fucking dork.
Wow.
Always. Because I'm always have it, because I'm always writing stuff down.
That's so good, man. I mean, I try to keep that habit as much as I can in like the notes app on my phone, which is very convenient, but how many times in your life have you said, and I know I do this fucking all the time, I'm like, this idea is so good that I'm going to remember it later.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And it's always gone.
You never remember it. I'll wake up sometimes with an idea, and you're like, ooh, remember that one? And you're just too tired to roll your ass over and write it down.
Did you ever hear Mitch Hedberg's joke about this?
Maybe.
He's like, sometimes I'm sleeping in my comfy hotel bed, and I have an idea. And if it just so happens that the pen is too far away, I have to convince myself that the idea is not funny. Yeah. I think I botched the words just a little bit. I haven't done that one in a while, but yeah, dude, that's really what it is. I'm just like, oh my god, I think I've just lost the greatest idea I ever had. And it's like that soul-crushing defeat of like, I will never have this again. This was going to be the one!
Yeah, and then sometimes you look back and you're like, you do write it down, then the next one you're like, that wasn't that good. Why did I wake myself up?
That's actually totally true, yeah. Yeah, so maybe I just won't worry about that anymore.
I remember one time...
that's a real positive takeaway from this.
One time, me and my friends, we did mushrooms, and we were like... we were like, I did a lot of mushrooms.
Dude, I love doing a lot of mushrooms. Let's talk about mushrooms for a while.
When I was in high school, we did it like 40 times.
Oh, I did it like when I was 40.
Yeah.
No, I'm 38. I'm 38 right now, but I definitely did it while I was 37.
Yeah.
And 36. And 38.
Yeah. No, I still do them as well also. But when I was in high school, I did them like, we were constantly doing them. And so me and my friends, we were like, you know what? Because you know how you always think, like, when you're doing mushrooms, you're like, man, I got to figure it out. Like, you think you figured out.
Oh, for sure.
The universe and how everything works and how it's all working together. And you're like, yep, I got it figured out. We recorded ourselves and we're like, this is it. We're going to finally understand what we're talking about because we recorded. And then we went back and watched the tape. It's just us just fucking holding on like a comfy blanket and just being like, feel it, rub it against your skin. We're like, we're fucking assholes.
That is the secret to life, actually.
Yeah, just find a comfy blanket.
Dude, I went and saw Sigur Rós and ate mushrooms last fall. And I actually didn't eat that much. I think I only had like one, like a cap in a stem, something small. Like I'll shove an eighth down my throat sometimes, like just to see what happens. But I swear to God, I figured out the root of all my childhood psychology, and I did write it down, and it still makes 100% sense to me.
Really?
Like I really feel like I discovered a valuable cog in my mental makeup and emotional makeup while on mushrooms at Sigur Rós at the ball, and it was fucking fantastic. So everybody out there, do mushrooms.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's phenomenal. I need to partake again. It's been a long time. Do mushrooms go bad?
I don't think that they do. I always keep mine in the freezer.
I have some in the freezer.
And if you're in the FBI listening to this, I meant to say I don't keep them in the freezer.
Yeah, that's how they're really hunting for you. I think.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that is how they get you.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I say things like this, I know that my chances of ever being president decline. And that is a disappointing thing to think. I mean, look at you here. You could be giving the State of the Union right now with your background.
Wouldn't want that job.
Oh, no.
Like, to me, I'm like, that's not something I would strive for. Being a governor, I think would be fun. I think being a governor would be great. Because state problems, maybe not California,
right.
Maybe like Iowa or like Nebraska where I'm from,
right.
Iowa, Nebraska. Like, I'm like, those problems I can talk about. It's like balancing a huge checkbook. You just talk it over with people, and then you just go to like the biggest cow that the state has, and shake some
eat
hands.
fucking fried butter at the fair.
Yeah, and just be like the super mayor.
Dude, you know who has the most awesome job? I think is the Texas state governor, because from what I'm told, the lieutenant governor in the state basically does everything, and the actual governor is just running around shaking hands with like big guys in square suits and eating fucking fried Oreos and shit. Or probably just barbecue, man, because it's Texas. God damn. How much do you love Texas?
Texas is pretty
You do
great.
shows in Austin sometimes?
Yeah.
It's my fucking favorite city in the world.
I know.
Besides LA, of course.
You know, I don't know how much I like Texas because...
We're just talking about Austin right now.
Because I've only ever been to Austin.
Right.
I want to go to other places. I will say that whenever I meet people from Texas, I like them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like any time I'm ever like, oh, I wonder where this person's from, and they're like, oh, we're from Texas. I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Because they're out there, they're not afraid to party in Texas.
They're not afraid to party. They're actually not afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
It's just a state that's like one of its most obvious characteristics is boldness.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. Mm-hmm. So let's talk. Sorry, I cut you off from your stand-up mode you good on time?
Yeah.
Okay. We were talking about how stand-up brought you into the videos and stuff. And if you want to go back to that, awesome. But I really want to talk about what stand-up is for you right now, and like what the tour is going to be, like what stuff you've been thinking about in terms of like developing in your act, and like what it means for you to be out on the road, and all that stuff. Because you do have a tour. How many cities do you do? 18. And so tickets are still out there.
Yep.
People can go. You're hitting most of the country, or is it regional, or what?
Yeah, I had to actually cut it short because this movie that I just did kind of backed
Ballin'.
It backed up into it, and so I had to cut it 2 weeks short, which I was bummed about. But we're starting in Detroit. Mm-hmm. We go from there. We go down through the Midwest, and we come back up, and then hit the West Coast, and then we're about done.
Okay, awesome.
So I kind of hopefully at the end of this year I can rebook all the dates that I had to cancel and hit the South and then hit the East Coast, which I'm excited about. But yeah, man, doing stand-up is so much fun for me, and it's just like a release. It's like, because I don't consider it, it's so much fun that, like, I have friends that are like, oh, dude, don't you just want to take time off? It's so much work to get out there, and I'm like, it is work, but it's like, it's fun. Like,
dude, that's so how fun. I feel about, like, some of the work I do too. Like, this is not work to me. This is what I enjoy. Like, I want to have conversations with people I find interesting. Yeah. Like, yeah, sure, I got to lug my shit over, and I got to do the sound stuff, and I got to have enough ideas in my brain and keep reading things to have things to talk about. But, like, no, I don't need a fucking vacation. I just need to be able to do more of this.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, sometimes, like, acting, it does feel like work. Because you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And you have to go, and then it's like it's like an awesome job, but it is still a job. But, like, doing stand-up, like, I'm able to go with my best friends, and we're taking a tour bus this time, which was super fun. And, like, Kyle, my best friend who you just met, he acts as, like, my tour manager on the road, and one of my other best friends is my merch guy, and then one of my other best friends is my opening act, Adam Ray, and just go out and have it be kind of a release and a celebration of everything that's kind of happening in my life.
Yeah, that's a blast, man. I mean,
when people ask me sometimes, like, what do you, like, get out of stand-up? And I'm like, I get, like, a party. Like, it's so much fun. Like, I want, and this is what my fans, I think, want too. They want to go, and for an hour and a half, 2 hours, they just want to party with me. And that's what I want to do too. I go on stage, I drink on stage, I have fun, I tell stories, like whatever the kind of the vibe of the crowd is. I'm like, oh, this crowd wants to hear this type of story, so I'll tell this story.
Is it really that free-flowing for you? Like, it's not, because, a lot of comedians, we even said it before, like, you're working out your hour, finally you got your hour, you go out and you test it out a few times around town, and then you take the hour on the road. Is that how you feel about it? Have you been... Yeah, I mean, obviously you have bits, but it sounds like you have that improv element in your set too, where...
Well, I like to be able to... I know what I'm going to do. I have the game plan. I have the template. I have the skeleton. And then sometimes you might go, oh, and this bit's working really well, and so you're going to divert and kind of go down a weird road. And sometimes you're improvising and... you realize you're just grasping at straws, and you're like, oh, this is it. I went down the wrong road. And then you just turn around and you get back to what you were talking about, and everybody's having a good time anyway. So it's like, I want the whole thing to just feel like we're at like an awesome house party, and just a guy standing up and telling funny stories.
So when you find yourself on one of those roads and you think that it might not be working, like, is this part of the fun for you? Like that little fear-driven adrenaline spike that says, like, oh fuck, I'm losing them. Like, is it part of, like, the competitive nature of the battle to, like, get them back, to find your way on the road? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the fun is when you go, like, the fun isn't when you go and strike out, you know?
No, I'm just saying, is there something fun about that danger element of the live audience that, like, you still really...
Oh, yeah. It's awesome. And it's so much fun. Like, the most fun... And now that I've done stand-up for as long as I have, and, like, I'm more comfortable performing, and I've been on big stages, it's really fun when you're backstage. And it happens to me every time. It's like I'm looking over set list, looking over, like, what I think the game plan is going into this show. And then right before I go out, I forget all of it. And I'm like, if you ask me, like, what I'm about to talk about, I'm like, every time. And then you go on stage and you grab the microphone and everything comes back to you. And, like, even, like, bits that you like, you thought you couldn't even remember it to save your life. Suddenly you're in the middle of the story and you realize you're going down that road and you're telling that bit and you're like, what the fuck is the end of this thing? And then it comes back to you, and it's so much fun to sort of like crawl back in your head, and it feels like there's a giant junk drawer in your brain, and while you're on stage delivering the joke, you are also like climbing through that junk door in your brain. You're just throwing shit out, and you're like, "Oh, here it is, Adam. Here it is," and you're like, "Wow!" And then
totally, dude. I mean, really again, fun. another factor of that, the countless hours of work and preparation that go into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you only have an hour and you might be good at crowd work or something, you're not getting out of that situation that you just talked about, you know? Yeah. And dude, that's the brilliance of it. One of the things I appreciate the most about stand-up comedy, I mean, aside from like just the entertainment value, obviously, first off, but the fucking courage that you guys exhibit on like, and guys, and by guys, I mean guys and women. Jesus Christ. Exhibit on a nightly basis, going up and doing that. I mean, it's just amazing. But the work just shows through so much.
What did you like so much about stand-up, and why I think stand-ups are pretty universally respected, is that everyone started at the bottom. Like, you can't not start it. You have to start at the bottom. Like, as an actor, you could have something. You could have like these crazy blue eyes, or you could be like wildly handsome, or something.
Like you,
like me. This is how I got to the top. This is, like you can have something where you're like stunningly beautiful, and people will go like, okay, you're good enough, and you can, and then you become a movie star because you're in the right movie and you blow up. But I think why stand-up is so universally respected is like, even if you have a famous father and he's a big stand-up, you still have to do that open mic at the back of a Chinese restaurant.
No one is laughing at you because your father's funny.
Yeah, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
And that's why I love doing stand-up so much. And it's like, it's sort of a like working man's medium as far as entertainment goes.
I don't know how much you think about this shit and this issue in particular, but over the last few years, people like Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld have talked about how they don't want to do shows at colleges. People online will routinely write think pieces attacking comedians because they said this, oh my God, and they were insensitive to this group, oh my God. Like, I don't know if you already have a response to that, but like, I think that comedy in particular holds such an important place in our culture and in any Western culture, because you have to be able to say when shit is wrong, and no one does that better than comedians,
Yeah, it's as far as what you're saying about colleges, they become so PC, which I guess that's been my entire life. Is like I didn't, like we kind of grew up in the culture of PC, kids of the '80s and the '90s and that kind of thing, where it's like being PC was the cool thing to do. Right. When like our parents, like college was a different time and place for them, obviously, but like even culturally, they were like, college is more about like letting your freak flag fly and saying, burning your bra and like that kind of shit,
and being confronted with ideas that are drastically opposed to the ones that you grew up in your small town with.
Yeah, and being cool with all of them. And so I do feel like when I do colleges, sometimes they are like the reserve. Like I did Penn State, and that's when they were dealing with that Sandusky guy who was touching. Right. And I started to talk about on my show, when something's cool, I'm wearing a hat. It's tight butthole, and when it's not cool, it's loose butthole. and then I go,
that cannot have gone over well.
And then I feel the air kind of suck out of the room, and I go, oh, I probably shouldn't say that here, huh? And then I feel like I got a couple boos, and then I just go, you know what, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I said that. I'm like, fuck you. I'm like, you're not the ones fucking up.
Yeah.
Like, it's not on you. You have to be sensitive anytime you hear the word butthole, because some fucking
also, you were doing it way before.
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden it means that when you say it now.
Oh yeah, I know. And I'm like, just because some creep that worked for your college did something dastardly, now every time you hear this word, you have to feel uncomfortable. I'm like, grow the fuck up. And as soon as I said that, everyone was like, yeah! And it was like one of the best shows I've had. It was
That's awesome.
Yeah, it totally turned, and the crowd was like, you know
dude,
what?
That's that's how it needs to be handled, man. I mean, everybody's like, oh, well, you need to pander to this sensitivity. You need to pander to this sensitivity. How about I'm going to pander to no one's sensitivities? Mm-hmm. I'll make that the rule. Because if you make anything else the rule, then you are going down a slippery slope that is you cannot recover from. Like, now we've enabled and empowered all these, like, different groups to be sensitive about whatever the fuck they want. And as soon as they decide that they're sensitive, they have an army of, like, little trolls on the internet who are going to be like, let's get this person out of their job. You know, like, no.
Well, I think it's, I try to be a pretty inclusive comic. Like, I'm not out there like stirring the pot and just being mean for meanness sake. And I think we're saying the same thing. Yes. But it's like, but also you don't want to not be able to say things in fear that someone might take offense to it. It's like,
also, yeah, I mean, being mean for meanness sake is just a mark of a bad person. And, like, not being sensitive to people's legitimate concerns is also the mark of a bad person. But somebody's offense is not, it should not be every single person's priority.
Yeah.
Like, I care about your feelings because I know you. I care about my parents' feelings. I care about my brother's feelings. Like, I care about my good friends' feelings. I don't care about strangers' feelings on the internet. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care if something I said in my genuine expression of myself or my humor or anything else, if you went out and searched out this thing I said, or you read it in some think piece, and now you're offended, why the fuck would I care about that?
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I'm with you.
I just had to rant there for a second. Anyway, what else, dude? So you've got the end of an era. Tell me about how it felt like recording that last episode with you guys.
It was cool, man. It was emotional. What was weird is we were exhausted. You know, this is the end of a long run, 7 seasons, and we weren't showing any emotion. It was like our crew was showing more emotions than us, and the three of us, we were like, yeah, you know what? Let's just.
I was going to ask that.
Like, it's fine, and people were like, wow, like these guys are ready to move on.
Well,
and then
but you guys aren't really moving. You guys are all together still.
I know, we're still.
That's the thing.
I literally left a meeting. We're producing this movie together that we're doing on Netflix. Not the one I told you about earlier, but a different movie that we're just going to be producers on. Literally left the movie meeting and came back here.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm hanging out with the guys a lot, but we were walking up to. We wanted to match the end shot of the pilot, which was us on the roof, the three of us, and kind of talking, we're just very improv heavy. Like, we improv that last scene of the pilot pretty heavily, and we were like, let's just improv this last scene of the show. And we have this 40-foot crane that's going to start on the three of us and then pull back to a super big wide. And we're like, great. We do 2 or 3 takes, kind of like getting on the third take, we kind of nailed what we wanted to get as far as story-wise. And then Kyle was like, you want to do another one? Kyle, Newachek, our director, and Blake Anderson, was like, yeah, let's do one more. And he's like, let's just get real on this one. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then it starts on us, and he just looks at us and...
Wait a second. Are we going to give a spoiler warning?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. And he just looks at us and was like, you guys are my best friends. I love you. This has been such an amazing journey with you. Like you guys mean everything to me. And immediately I'm just like shot out of my. It was like I was like cartoon crying. Like it was like
just everyone.
Yeah. And I felt like such a bitch. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe my whole crew just like saw me. You know, all the tough grips and electricians that work on the show. I'm like, I didn't want them to see me cry like such a pussy. And I climb off the roof, and our toughest, biggest grip comes over to me, and he's like, that was fucking awesome, brother. Get in here, man. He's crying. Like, everyone's just crying their fucking eyes out.
Dude, that's fucking perfect, man.
Yeah, it really was.
That's so interesting to me, though, that you say the thing about the crew and how they were more like upset than you, because I just know, from talking to Aaron about the end of Breaking Bad, like they were filming in New Mexico, and they didn't all start together, so it wasn't like a crew of them. Like it's the kind of thing where basically nobody knows each other when the show starts. They're all in a different place from where they actually live. I mean, obviously they have New Mexico crew there too, but
yeah.
So when that show ends, everybody's going their separate directions. So everybody had like an equal stake in in being upset about everything. But you guys are just like, well, you still have your unit.
Yeah.
We
looked out in the fact that like, and this is a testament to us stopping Workaholics when we did, because I think now we still have the legs to go on to other things. If we would have done 10, 12 seasons of Workaholics, I think people would be sick of seeing us together. But I think we've left with a good taste in people's mouth where they're like, yeah, I really like that show, Workaholics. And then when our movie comes out in a year, people will still be excited to see the three of us
Absolutely, together. I think that's right. And dude, it's so cool to be able to stop something like that on your own terms artistically. Like the end is coming. You're going to wrap it up. You want to wrap it up in a certain way. You have the opportunity to do that. If you had to keep writing indefinitely, like season after season, like
I mean, we were like, and we were we're just growing up, and it was getting harder to write like three broke guys living in this house together when we haven't been broke guys for like 5 years now.
So you find that much of your real life informing your perspective on that?
Especially those first few seasons, it was like we literally were writing stuff that happened to us exactly. And then like exaggerating it for comedic sake, but like really writing stories from our lives. And then later on you're pulling from stories from your past, but it's too much time has passed.
They don't feel real in the same way.
Feel as real. So I think it was a good time for us to kind of, not that if we create another show, it's like, we're Hollywood millionaires, 3 Hollywood millionaires living in a house. But I think it was, our real life was informing the show that much that it was kind of good that we put it to bed when we did.
Fuck yeah, man. All right, so let's wrap this up so you can get on with your day. He's got more important shit to do. You're like a fucking hardworking motherfucker right now.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, that's the fucking blessing. You get there and then you just get to work way harder.
So when you see all these like Instagram people and they're always on vacation, I'm like, how the fuck do they do it?
Prostitutes, dude. I mean, what's the mystery? I mean, that's not a mystery.
Yeah, no, that's true. Even like the people like that are working hard, that people that are working, they're always like jumping off.
Are you trying to say prostitution isn't hard work?
Well, no, and I won't say that. They're like jumping off yachts. And I'm like, when do these guys have time to jump off yachts? Yeah.
Well, man,
I need to find some jumping off yacht times.
Jumping off yacht time is good, but like when you can't get your brain out of hustle mode, it's not even enjoyable while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So anyway, comedy tour coming up for the next 3 weeks. Website that people can check for the dates?
I think you can...
or just Ticketmaster or some shit like that?
LiveNation.com.
Okay.
And then Adam DeVine Facebook.
And Adam DeVine on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Bovine on Instagram. Which in my muddled sense of brainlessness while I was driving and typing the thing about us being on today, I wrote Adam DeVine. And then I was like, God damn it. And I think you've actually told me why the Andy Bovine thing before. What is that about?
Or you wrote Andy Bovine?
I wrote Adam DeVine and posted it, and then somebody was like, it's Andy Bovine, dumbass. And I was like, yes, you're right.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
I know this is so stupid, but it was just, when Instagram came about, I didn't think it was going to be as big of a thing. So I was like, this is going to be like
silly.
a little thing for like me and my high school friends. And in high school, one of my best friends, Kyle, who you met earlier, his older brother, they were a couple years older than us. And his older brother's friend was like, dude, you are too much of a little fucking dork to have such a cool-ass name like Adam DeVine.
That's fantastic, dude.
So it's like, I'm giving you a new name. And then he came back with Andy Bovine. I'm like, that's a good name. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll keep that one.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so awesome. So check out his stuff for tickets, blah, blah, blah. Season finale, or the series finale of Workaholics is coming right up on Comedy Central.
Yeah,
what do you got, 4 weeks left?
I think we got something like 6 weeks
6 weeks left?
Yeah.
All right. Didn't want to make you seem shorter than you are.
Yeah, please. Give me those extra 2.
And what else? Okay, guys, you can follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at None Taken Pod. Please subscribe on iTunes by searching None Taken with Chris Paul. It's also on Google Play. Subscribe, leave us a rating. All that stuff is super helpful. What else, brother? Is there anything else?
Nah, not really. I'm just cranking out
masterpieces.
Tons of masterpieces. My Netflix movie will come out this summer. It's called When We First Met. It's starring me and Alexandra Daddario.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's great. And Shelley Hennig from Teen Wolf. Mm-hmm. And then I'm in a new movie called Magic Camp, which is the Disney movie that I just did. And I play like a head counselor of a teen summer camp.
I will watch that.
Which is, it's totally insane, and it's a PG-rated movie, but it is really heartfelt and very funny, and I just finished that, and that comes out this summer.
So you're just having a fucking ball right now.
Yeah, man, it's really fun.
Dude, I'm so happy for you, man. It's just awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
I love it. I love it when motherfuckers who work hard and are talented like get there, man. There's nothing like people in Hollywood get competitive. That is the stupidest fucking idea that I can possibly think of.
You can't help
like
what anyone else is doing. You can only help what you're doing.
Exactly. But by the way, be super happy for everyone that makes it and does good things. And then just watch what they do and how they do it and how they approach life and try to incorporate as much of that good stuff as possible. I'm not saying copy them, do what they do, but like people, it's not a fucking mystery why some people get successful. Mm-hmm. Like figure out what they're doing. If you want to do what they're doing, figure out what they're doing and do that.
Yep.
Anyway. So shit, man, that's it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, man.
Have a blast on tour and everybody go see him and fucking congratulations on everything, dude.
Thanks,
awesome.
man.
All right, brother. All right.
Peace.